Technical planning. It's good to have the bell back. All right. Welcome to the May, what is it, 24th meeting of the Rotary Club of Beavercreek. I want to thank Jonathan Hebrank for his solo greeting in the absence of additional assistance, even if somebody else was signed up. Thanks, Eric Marcus, for being the ticket master, Beth, for helping set up, or maybe doing all of it, I don't know. Thanks to our program people, Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Zwick for the great programs. Welcome. You've isolated your job to only that program. You can't venture out and greet people. I get it. Thanks to Jim Gundel for taking care of the website. Denny Jarvie, would you please provide us an indication?
Well, good afternoon. Would you please join me in prayer? Blessed are you, Lord, God of creation. You feed the whole world with your goodness and your grace, your kindness and your mercy. You nourish and sustain us and do good to all. Bless this food to our use and give us your Rotary service. Give us to your Rotary service. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Would either of the Jenkins boys provide us with the secretary's reports?
We 2%, and we have a couple guests today. Shannon, you want to go first?
I have Abby and Brianna here with me today. Yep, and then I have Bentley and Abigail here.
I'm Bentley. I'm Joe.
And then I have Joe Jr. here today.
Is hat broken or is it supposed to be flat like that?
I don't know. You know,
So, Joe Jr., will you tell us what just happened to you in your soccer career? Can you tell these guys what happened? Made the first team for the Celtics organization in his age group. All right. So I will call to the front. So first of all, there's a couple of sign-up sheets going around. One for additional spots for June 2nd, still available on the pancakes at the Creek Classic. And then there's one for upcoming breeders starting next month. And Mayor and Sergeant at Arms Don Adams, come on down. I don't like it when you look surprised. Sir.
Before I get started, I'm going to switch a hat here for just a minute. And I'd like Shannon Graham and Joe Jenkins to come up if you don't mind, just for a minute. One thing I've heard ever since I joined Rotary is service above self. And recently in Beavercreek, we had some damage to some restrooms at Rotary Park. These two gentlemen stepped up and fixed them all last Friday, which is one of the reasons they probably weren't here. So make sure they get credit for, it's perfect attendance. This is just a real good example of what we all do, or what we should be doing. Taking care of our community, taking care of other people. And I know they don't want to be up here for this recognition. I know they don't. But it's something that I think we all need to understand. One of the reasons that we're here. And I just want to thank both of you for all that you did there for the city.
I was gonna tell you, it was a little more self-serving because my kids play softball out there and there's nothing restrooms. So I wanted to play beside the porta gentlemen.
Thank you guys very much. They're going to come to a council meeting on Monday or Tuesday, and I'll recognize them from the city at that point. So but I wanted to bring it up here. So in case you guys didn't realize what they'd done. Thank you again. Today is May 24th, 2024. It's the 145th day of the year. It seems like it was just yesterday I was saying that about 2023. It's amazing how fast time goes by. There's only 221 days left in this year. Today we celebrate Asparagus Day, Aviation Maintenance Technician Day, Brothers Day. So if you have a brother, make sure you recognize your brother today. It is Carp Day in Indianapolis. Never been over for that. That's a fun deal. Heat Safety Awareness Day. It's always the first of the Friday before Memorial Day because you want to watch what's happening in the heat. And I went to Costco this morning and I saw all these ladies wearing tiaras. I couldn't remember why it was, but it is National Tiara Day. So it's National Color Day. So I want to get your getty out. National Escargot Day. National Road Trip Day. Scavenger Hunt Day. And World Schizophrenia Awareness Day. I think that happens every Friday here at Cleveland. This week, we also recognize Emergency Medical Services Week. We want to thank all of our first responders. I know we recognized the police a couple of weeks ago, and now with the firefighters and the emergency services. I can't say enough about the ones we have here at Beavercreek Township. They just do an outstanding job. It's also Healthy and Safe Swimming Week. Swimming pools will open this weekend, so if you're out there swimming, be careful. It is Mud Bug Madness Week. Not sure what that is. I'm gonna look it up, didn't have time. National Backyard Games Week. National New Friends and Old Friends Week. So look up somebody you haven't seen for a while. Reconnect. Great weekend to do that. And while you're at it, it's National Bowling Weekend, so that you can all. It's National Unicycle Week. And I don't know what's the name for some of you guys on the unicycle. Old Time Player Piano Week. And this is one we all, or most of us in here, have to deal with. Older Americans Mental Health Week. Today in history, Samuel Adams wrote the instructions for the Boston Town Meeting opposing the Sugar Act, laying the groundwork for colonial resistance to taxation without representation. In 1775, John Hancock was unanimously elected president of the Continental Congress. In 1830, the poem Mary Had a Little Lamb by Sarah Joseph Hale was first published. I didn't realize it was that old. In 1830, also the first regular passenger rail service on the Baltimore-Ohio Railroad line was done. It was a horse-drawn rail car connecting Baltimore to Elcott's Mills. In 1844, Samuel Morse tapped out "What Hath God Wrought" in the world's first telegraph message. I think we can still say that today. 1833, the Brooklyn Bridge was opened by Chester A. Arthur and New York Governor Grover Cleveland. In 1890, George Train and Sam Wall circled the world in a record 67 days. They were the basis for the Around the World in 80 Days that Jules Verne wrote much later than that. So in 1899, the first auto repair shop opened in Boston. In 1930, Amy Johnson became the first woman to fly solo from the United Kingdom to Australia. That's a long way. In 1935, the first Major League night baseball game played in Cincinnati. The Reds won 2-1 against Philadelphia. Some things in our club over the last couple of weeks. We had a couple of birthdays. I had one, but we won't count that. Bruce Brumfield, May 17th. Jeff Biarita was on May 19th. And member anniversaries, Dick Gould, and I think it's 13 years. But he got perfect attendance for 14. I'm not sure how that worked. I'm just kidding. A couple of interesting facts that I found over the week when I was looking these things up. There's a mantis shrimp. It has a punch that's as powerful as the force of a bullet. They're known as prong killers, but they have the same force as a .22 caliber bullet, 50 miles an hour when they throw a punch. Do you know which former mayor had the Mona Lisa in his bedroom? It's been a little bit there since 1804, but only in Baltimore had it in his bedroom 4 years before that. Some interesting facts that I found out about the comic strip Peanuts. Charles Schulz did not like the name of the strip, which was named after a children's only section of Howdy Doody. Howdy Doody. It was called the Gallery. Schultz wanted to call it Little Folks. Did you know that Snoopy had 5 siblings? Spike, Belle, Marbles, Olaf, and Andy. The little red-haired girl that Charlie Brown had the eternal crush on was never given a name and never appeared in the comic strips. So apparently she was a figment of his imagination. And Peanuts was the first major comic strip to feature a minority character in Franklin. Linus did not speak for the first 2 years of the comic strip. Said all of Schultz's characters represented his personality, and Linus was a manifestation of his serious side, intellectual, bright, and well-informed, which could explain his feelings of insecurity and carrying a blanket all the time. I think some of us could use that blanket once in a while. And the final comic ran on the day after Schultz died. And it actually stopped then. Any reproduction of that has to be done what was done before. There was no new ones ever written after that. When he saw how astronomically high his latest phone bill was, the head of house called the family meeting. This is unacceptable, he said. You have to limit the use of the phone. I never use this phone. I always use the one at the office. The mother said, same here. I hardly use the home phone at all because I work. I use my work phone. The son said to me too, I never use the home phone. I'm always on the company's mobile. So what's the problem, estimated? We all use our work phones. Well, it takes a while, you know. I know it's Friday, we're trying to a long weekend, but it takes a little while. There was an Alabama state trooper chasing a red Mustang east on I-20 toward Georgia. When the suspect crossed the Georgia line, the first trooper pulled over quickly. The trooper pulled in behind him and said, "Hey, Sarge, why'd you stop?" Sarge replied, "Forget it. He's in Georgia now. They're an hour ahead of us. We'll never catch him." Trump's a big city businessman has had enough of the rat race, so he moved to an isolated cabin deep in the woods. He'd been there a few days when there was a knock on the door. There stands a grizzly old mountain man. "I live over the mountain. I come to invite you to a party," said the old man. "Well, this is a surprise," said the man. "I didn't even know I had any neighbors. Love to go to a party. Thank you for inviting me." The old man turns to walk away and turns back and says, "I guess I should warn you. There's going to be drinking." "Well, I can certainly hold my alcohol." "And I guess I ought to let you know there's going to be a fight." He said, "Well, I'm not looking for trouble, but I think I can handle myself. And you should know there's going to be a hugging." He said, "Well, I've been lonely out here, so I think I can handle that too." The old man once again turns to walk away. The man in the cabin calls out, "Wait, what should I bring?" "Bring anything you want. It's just going to be you and me." Okay. The other day I was struggling to get my wife's attention, so I simply sat down and looked comfortable. That did the trick. I went at a dinner table, the wife commented, "When we were first married, you took the small piece of steak and gave me the larger. Now you take the large one and leave me the smaller. You don't love me anymore?" "Nonsense, darling," the husband replied. "You just cook better now." And then there was a woman accompanied her husband to the doctor's office. After his checkup, the doctor called the wife into the office alone. He said, "Your husband is suffering from very severe stressor. If you don't do the following, your husband will surely die. Each morning, fix him a healthy breakfast. Be pleasant at all times. For lunch, make him a nutritious meal. For dinner, prepare an especially nice meal. Don't burden him with chores. Don't discuss your problems with him. It will only make his stress worse. No nagging, And most importantly, be with your husband several times a week. If you can do this for 10 months to a year, I think your husband will regain his health completely. On the way home, the husband asked his wife, "What did the doctor say?" He said, "You're gonna die." And then I was saying, Jerry, and I walked into a pet store and says, "I need a talking parrot." The store owner replies, "We have a special Rotary Club for a parrot. They can recite the four-way test." The Rotarian was intrigued and asked, "How much?" "Well, it's only $1,000. The Rotarian hesitates, but finally agrees. And he takes the parrot home and waits. The parrot looks around and says, "The four-way test is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all?" The Rotarian smiled and said, "Perfect. Now let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance." Thank you, Princess Victoria. Now, as always, I like, yeah, that's good. Now, as always, I like to leave you with a positive quote. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. So don't watch the clock. Do what it does. Keep going. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Today's finds, if you've been on a road trip, that's $1. If you've ever done a scavenger hunt, that's $1. If you've ever traveled by train, that's $1. If you've ever been to a night baseball game, that's $1. If you read the comic strip, that's $1. And if you're not wearing a Rotary pin, that's $1. I think you're gonna be really happy when I quit doing this.
Tomatoes, what happened on, you can't come in hot.
Who needs fundraisers? And needs all. You free there today, that's a duck. Well, I noticed with all those married jokes that your wife doesn't come as a guest very often, so smart man. But you had a chance to tell blonde jokes without getting abused today, and you missed that opportunity, so. Scott, happy bugs.
I'm very happy that Jonathan, he did a great job of Phoenix Reader today. And I was testing him to see if he could do it by himself, and he proved that he can.
Just makes good common sense.
That's right.
Alex.
EMS week, as the mayor mentioned, is this week. It's always my anniversary of being a certified paramedic after this year. And I say certified in name only. If someone gets sick, please call 911. Mayor mentioned it tomorrow at the Green between 1 and 4. We'll be celebrating EMS week. The fire department will be out there, Kettering Network, Miami Valley, a few other guests out there, helping out with healthcare screening. Learn about what our paramedics, EMTs do. They do a lot. I told my son, when he first became a paramedic, that you're going to see people on their worst days, but you're also going to help people on their worst days. So come out tomorrow, 1 to 4 at the Green.
All right. Other happy bugs. Shannon.
So earlier in the week, got to go to graduation over at the Honor Center for my son, Jay's son, Pete's son. The nice thing about your son graduating is it is one of those burdens set down. The bad thing about it is you now know all of these kids you go to graduation parties for. Isaac's having a graduation party next week. I put some invitations over on the thing because I suck at calling directions from my wife. So I can't take anything in the mail, but there's a couple cards they can circulate.
I have a grandson that just committed to go to the University of Virginia. Right. 67275.
Wow.
So do you use him for labor around the house there?
Whatever you want.
Gonna have fun. And lots of like all of our work he puts in. And we we're constantly playing soccer all the time, and for him to like, have the opportunity to go try out, and the way he played, it was awesome as a dad to watch it all unfold, and to see the reward at the end was awesome. So, yeah.
It's probably a far distance to get to the tracks though from your house, right?
Yeah, four-wheeler ride.
Eric,
I'm happy to be back from my vacation. I was in Switzerland, Germany, France, and Netherlands. They stuffed us with food and made us drink wine all day long. So I'm in rehab for the next 2 weeks.
who else has a happy bug? I have a happy bug for our Assistant District Governor Roger to show up today and join us as he's ending his Assistant District Governor year. Anything you have for us?
Well, start, 1 July for Dottie Mead, the new district governor.
That's right, another Fairborn act there. Yeah, not bad for the second best club in the county. All right, any other happy bugs, any announcements? So again, the sign up sheet is coming around for greeters and for cake service at the Creek Classic next weekend. Jim's got flags for heroes set up. Thank you for all the people who helped to install the flags on tomorrow at 5 o'clock. There's going to be an opening ceremony for that. Ask if you have a chance to get over that, support the project. It's a short program. Music by Carolyn Sargent, who played flute for us here as a program. Beavercreek Township Fire Department is going to provide somebody to give some opening remarks. And then we'll need some volunteers there a little bit early, 4:30, 4:40, to help set up some chairs. We're going to remove flags on the 29th. At 4, that's next Wednesday. If you can attend that, that would be great. Any other announcements that anybody can think of? Okay, Mike Swick, come on down. Oh, I'm sorry. Our ticket drawing. Half the proceeds go to our Christmas basket project for the chance to draw for the Queen of Hearts. You need number 339558. 339558.
Hey, Junior won.
All right, Junior.
All right, Dad always wins the pot.
Get the Joker.
I'm looking for that response today.
Hot rooms. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce my friend and our state representative, Brian Lamley. Man, clear back in 07, 08, Brian had a dream to be our state representative. And in November of 2020, that dream became true. And in January of 21, he took office. He's currently running for his third term, emphasize vote in November. State rep is a thankless kind of job. You are running every 2 years, and that is like a treadmill. You are never done campaigning, right, Brian?
Never.
Wow. But Brian and I go way back. We started out in the insurance business early on together. He was a nationwide guy, and somewhere along then, Brian moved his office to Beavercreek. And sometime later, he decided they were going to move to Beavercreek, and he became my neighbor. No, about 10 years, and our kids virtually grew up together. And I've always appreciated and thank you. He used to come over and help me cut trees down. With that, Brian, I want you to come and tell your story. But one of the things I want you to address is Mr. Biden's issue with being on our ballot and what State House is doing about that. Thank you, brother.
That is the end. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have. It's my honor and privilege to serve you all at the 70th House District. And just in case you don't know, I represent Fairborn, Beavercreek, Bellsbrook, and Spring Valley, and those townships. I currently serve on the Armed Services Veterans Affairs Committee, the Aviation and Aerospace Committee, and I chair the Insurance Committee, House Insurance Committee. I'm also a member of the Joint Armed Services Veterans Caucus and the House Chair of the Business First Caucus. Few of the bills that I've been working on, House Bill 145, actually started before I was in office. I was on a phone call with Rick Corrales and some other folks having to do with the Joint Purchasing Authority. And it's basically a tool that local governments can use to speed up and get small construction projects done inexpensively. As you know, public entities all have to go through a bid process. Charles and the city council folks know that. And this joint purchasing authority, basically, these contractors and companies do that bid process for you, and then you literally kind of pick out of a catalog what you need. House Bill 386, that's a bill I joint sponsored. It's just basically a bill that will eliminate Ohio's income tax. It'll phase it out over the next 6 years. House Bill 399, this is a newer bill I just sponsored with Representative Brown. This is a living organ donor tax break. So if you're a living organ donor and a match is found for you to donate your kidney, if you will, we will give that donor, if the bill passes, a tax break, income tax credit. Income tax break, not credit. But the big part of that bill is it'll give the employer a credit so they can continue to pay that employee while the employee's off doing the donation, because it usually takes 2 to 4 to sometimes 6 weeks. I've also recently introduced House Bill 450. This is regarding UAVs and private property, privacy rights. Currently, if you walk into somebody's backyard that has a privacy fence, you are trespassing. If you fly your drone 10 feet over that same backyard, there's no regulation. So this will add that as trespassing. Very, very simply, that's what that's supposed to do. And then most recently, House Bill 517. There's a program that was introduced last General Assembly having to do with home buyers, and they call it the Home Buyers Plus program. This program is for anyone in the state who wants to save to buy a home, for a down payment on a home. The cool part of it is whatever financial institution participates, I don't know, Right Pat does, or River Valley does, excuse me. I know, I'm looking at your shirt going, I got the wrong name. They participate to, let's say the interest rate's 5 or 6% on the savings, the treasurer's office will add another 2 or 3% to that. And then it's also, there's tax advantages for those folks that participate. What was unintended was that it didn't include active military stationed in Ohio. Something about their address isn't actually Ohio. So this bill will close that and solve that issue. So this is a military friendly bill. As chair of insurance, we work on a lot of things, right? The biggest thing is the beginning of this, the General Assembly, we have to pass the workers' comp budget and the industrial commission budget, which it was easy this time. So I'm glad to be able to do that. One of the things that's currently going on is the capital budget. The Senate has it now. There's a couple of issues. One I'll address in a minute. The other issue is that our state revenues are down. They predicted them to be equal to 2023, and they're not. So the capital budget's not going to look like what we thought it would look like. it's gonna be interesting to see what comes of that. The Senate's working on it currently. So if you have concerns or questions, Senator Hackett would be your guy to talk to on that. Now the fun stuff, the stuff that's going on, you may have seen in the news, the governor just yesterday, I believe, called for convening of the House. I don't know where to start with this. Let's start with the problem. The word I heard the other day is friction. It's unprecedented. There's a situation going on in Columbus that is unprecedented. I've talked to a lot of folks that have been around a long time, and they've assured me this has not happened before. You currently have a current Speaker of the House who wants to be Speaker next General Assembly. And normally, that's what will happen. But that's not what's happening. You currently have the President of the Senate, who leads the Senate, who's now running for the House. He is unopposed, so he will be elected. Who also wants to be Speaker of the House. Do you get that? Can you imagine some friction there? Right? You got the two guys in charge of each chamber who want to hold the gavel for the House next year. Okay? Friction, right? So that's why a lot of things aren't getting done because of that friction, that competition for the gavel for next time. So fast forward to the situation. The Democrat National Convention, the date of that is whenever it is. And because of the way they do their nominating process, their candidate, Joe Biden, won't officially be able to be put on the ballot in Ohio until after that convention, which is after the due date Ohio has already set to be on the ballot. So our Secretary of State has said that if you don't have your convention earlier and get then he wouldn't be eligible to be added to the ballot. So the Democrats obviously don't like that because it's effectively due to the due dates that their nominee won't be, or by rule won't be on the ballot. Now, there is several bills, and the one that's, I think we're going back Tuesday to discuss, is a Senate bill that will, let's say, temporarily, I don't want to change the rule, I guess, temporarily fix the dates so that Biden can be on the ballot as the Democrat nominee for president. There are several Republicans that don't really want to vote for that. Imagine that. Because they would have, their fear is that they have a very difficult time explaining that to their constituents. Personally, I don't see a problem with it. I think politically it makes sense for the Democrat nominee to be on the ballot. My reasoning is a couple. One, if the shoe was on the other foot and it was the Republican that wasn't going to be on the ballot, I would want the Republican to be on the ballot. That's one way to look at it. The other is if you look at the down ticket items, if the Trump voters, we already know Trump's on the ballot. If the Trump voters don't have to go to the polls in November because there is no Democrat on the ballot, right? What will happen? Well, your down ticket races could be affected. Our United States Senate race, you would be in the House or the state Supreme Court and so on. So it just makes sense to me that we would want all of the voters motivated to come to the polls in November. So that kind of my thought process and why I would be in favor of that. Those are my two reasons anyway. So the bill has another amendment facet to it. And it has to do with foreign money being involved in Ohio, only Ohio, state issues. This amendment, or the part of this bill, will eliminate or disallow all foreign monies to be spent and used for issue campaigns, statewide issue campaigns. Which I'm sure you let your mind soak on that for a minute and imagine who likes that, who doesn't like that. Yeah, so that is going to be the discussion, and the only thing that will be coming up on Tuesday when we are forced to convene for that. The Senate's passed it. It's out of the Senate, so it's sitting in the House. I don't know why we didn't vote on it this week. I don't know why we didn't vote on it last week. But we're coming back on Tuesday. So there you have it. That's the latest and greatest. A couple other things the things that I hear a lot about from you guys is property taxes. We all got our nice little lovely increases for our home values, which we all know means property tax increases. There's been a committee that's been convened to study that, try to figure out a way to relieve some pressures. There's a lot of bills that will freeze taxes at a certain age. If you're a owner occupied and you're, I don't know what the age is, 65, 70, whatever it might be, that it'll freeze, your taxes can never go up. There's several proposals. They're all sitting around, not going anywhere because of the aforementioned friction. Thank you. Friction, that's my new favorite word, friction. Which is a shame because that affects us. I'd like to see some of these things get to the fore, so we can have that debate and maybe move some. There's some really good bills in that along those lines. Now this commission is going to come up with some great things. My prediction is we won't see them this year. It'll be next year when we see that, when this whole speaker thing, the dust settles, and hopefully we can kind of get back to this year. And that's all I have. I wanted to leave some time for questions. Sir Charles?
Yes, is the Senate bill that you just referred to, is that a conflict? Will that between the speaker and the wannabe speaker? So if you vote for it, you become a traitor?
I don't think so. It's more going to fall along party lines.
All right.
Yeah. And so they'll need, and there are some on our side of the aisle that are really still struggling with voting for putting Biden on the ballot.
Understand.
They got a problem with that. They don't know that they're going to be able to sell it to their constituencies, if you will. And I think that's why the foreign money piece was put into it. So we'll see. We'll have to see what the caucus does. Ed?
If we're already running a state deficit, how is reducing the income tax? Where's that money gonna come from? Because it's gotta come from somewhere.
Correct. And then there's a few things we've discussed. One is obviously spending a little less. Now you can't eliminate the billions that are in it. Another is Ohio is probably the #1 or maybe #2 state for natural gas, which is now a clean energy. I feel like we could export that energy and sell it, basically. It's called an energy model. I don't have numbers, Ed. I can't speak incredibly intelligently about it, but that's some of that. It's also why it's a phase out, because at some point you're reducing income taxes, typically revenues have gone up, but at some point they won't. And that might be where, okay, well, now we have the sticking point. Then how do you make it up? And that kind of thing will have to also be included or at least ready to go, yeah. Eric?
State income tax is like 1 point something billion is, how much is it?
I don't have the
It's like
numbers.
40% of the budget, though.
It's big.
Yeah, it's like
it's like-
40% of the budget, so raise the sales tax, like double it, or increase property taxes. Because we don't have any other place to get the money.
I really don't like the idea of property tax increases, sales tax. Personally, I'm much more in favor of sales tax because it's voluntary tax. I prefer it over the other taxes, income or property. Property tax punishes property owners. Income tax punishes wealth or, income. Sales tax is voluntary. I don't know that Ohio can live on sales tax like Florida and Texas and some other states do. But I think it can be a part of the solution. Who else? I saw another hand somewhere.
They already asked the question.
Oh, he asked you.
Nailed it. Question on, this is your colleagues on the other side of the house in the Senate, they are posturing themselves because there's a shortage of homes in Ohio, so they have all these jobs coming in. Justin, taking here, as we heard a couple weeks ago from Dave Destin's, the shortage of 30,000 jobs, not enough housing and stuff like that. The Senate is considering taking away zoning from local jurisdictions, more townships and villages. What's the House's position? Okay.
Well, I don't know. First of all, the problem is real. Ohio has more jobs than workers. So those workers are going to come, we're going to steal them from the rest of the country. They're going to be moving in. But where do they move? And it's true, we do have a housing shortage. And so can enough apartments be built? We're trying to work with developers and craft some things that can help some multifamily, because single family homes, you just can't do it, right? You can't build them fast enough. It's just not possible. So we have to look at other ways. Honestly, I don't know where the House would be on something like that. But the problem is real. We need to come up with good creative solutions. I'm more of a local government guy. I don't like the idea of the state taking over all that stuff. So hopefully a balance can be struck. We could get somewhere where we can promote more housing, more apartment buildings and things. At the same time, and keep the locals in charge of. Did you guys don't want the state taking that over? You don't. David?
Yeah, is there a way to get, the levies are a set amount, like X number of billions of dollars, and when you get to there, nobody else has to, there's no more money to go in, because there's a lid on all these new people that come into, like say, Beavercreek, homeowners, don't pay. Because I should say it that way. The percentage goes down for everybody.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean,
The effective rate goes down.
the effective rate goes down, the millage or the money paid to the school or locality remains.
Right.
So the more houses that are built in that scenario you're referring to does lower the effective rate for those folks. There's several kinds of levies. One of the bills that has interest is to eliminate replacement levies. The reasoning for that is the bill sponsors feel like it's deceptive to the voters that they don't really know, because the replacement levy actually raises your effective rate. And the auditors will even tell you there's no way to calculate what it'll be. So you could go to the auditor's office and say, well, what will my rate be? Well, they just don't know. It's literally individual, home to home and so forth. So that bill has potential, but that's just one type of of property tax. Counselor, you had a question?
Yeah, have you gotten much feedback on your distracted driving bill and so forth?
Yes, thank you. We, it's actually been quite effective. We've already heard that there's been a good reduction in fatalities. They've been handing out tickets. So it has been effective, and Rep. Abrams and I are just thrilled to death with that it's there, and if the bill did what we said it has saved lives. Yeah. I tell everyone, we were at the blessing of the bikes the other day, and I mentioned from the stage, and these are several, like 5,000-6,000 motorcycles there and riders, and it's important that we pay attention as car drivers to the bikes on the road. Just my message was, put your phone down. You're driving your car, just put your phone down. Nothing's that important. It can wait till you get where you're going. Just put your phone down. We still see, and our county engineer Stephanie will tell you, we still see too many injuries and fatalities of our road workers because people aren't paying attention, and these workers are getting killed or injured, and they're just working. They're just working the job. They just want to go home to their families at the end of the day. And people are running off the road into these construction zones. There's another bill that was discussed to raise those fines. Not sure if that's going to pass, but it is a problem. Too few people are slowing down at those construction sites, or they're looking at their doggone phones and then causing crashes and injury. Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah.
You mentioned something about the foreign money coming in for the election. Which country is it coming from? Or do we want to disclose it against the national security? How does it affect the elections?
I am not well educated in where the money's coming from and how it's coming. It just seems really strange to me that someone that lives in another country is interested in legalizing marijuana in Ohio, and why they would want to send thousands and thousands of dollars for that. I scratch my head and go, well, what do you care?
International business.
China.
If I run a marijuana.
I'm just kind of thinking it, so, but that's.
Daily News mentioned abortion rights organizations ideologically motivated, pumping money into Ohio.
Yeah, and in fact, when that bill was first passed out of the Senate, the Catholic Church came on against it because they're very pro-life, and they're an international organization. So their fear was that this bill passes, they won't be able to contribute to fight abortion as an example.
It's a double-edged.
So yeah. That one's going to be an interesting debate. David?
That leads me to a question: should faith organizations be able to donate to any political thing to the separation of church and state?
Yeah.
They're not supposed to talk about it as pulpit.
That's the other way around. They're not supposed to talk about the religion from the state.
Yes.
Yeah, they are very involved in the political process.
I know.
I think my time is up. All right.
You're not off the hook until these guys say you are.
He's looking for the hook.
Start talking about religion, he said,
Yeah, really, I'm going politics enough. Good God.
well, that's our,
Add religion to it.
we're gonna donate a book that Brian signed to the Greene County Community Library, How to Make a Better World. All right.
Did you have a question, my lady? Yes.
When we were discussing the income tax, doesn't that make Ohio more attractive to larger companies to build here, and that's where the revenue would come from?
There's that aspect as well, and then that's part of it. It's a lot of factors. A lot of individuals are moving out of Ohio to these non-income tax states. A lot of folks won't move into Ohio because they can move into a non-income tax state. There actually is quite a bit of that. One of the goals of the Business First Caucus, Ohio has lost congressional representation over the last, 60 years? The goal is to increase our population to where we gain a congressional seat, because that's all based on population. It's a lofty goal, but Senator Lang and I share that vision. If we can continue to create the jobs that we've been winning all of those battles, Ohio is the go-to state in the Midwest. We can be the go-to state. We got to solve the housing issue that Alex mentioned. We definitely have to do that. We got to have a place for them to live. The jobs are here. They're here and they're now. And we can get them to move in here. We can accomplish that goal and get enough new folks to get us another congressional seat, which helps all of us at the end of the day. But you're right that additional business here will also improve the budget, the revenues. Fran?
Okay, I understand, that we need more people, more workers, and we bring more people in, but that also means then locally, there's more infrastructure, there's more schools, which also raises costs for everyone. And then the other thing is there any planning or thought about the people who are here? Because we went to the career center and they're trying to do tailor some of the things they're doing, is there any way to boost the people who are here to be able to move into some of those jobs as well? Because then that means they're earning more.
Correct.
And that helps our economy.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, nabbing people from other parts of the country. There's a ton of programs with, the governor put a huge emphasis on mental health. There's a ton of programs to try to get people out of these $15 an hour jobs, get them some additional training and get them to where they're very self-sustained. And there's lots of programs that for handicapped folks, we had tons of programs with that to again get them into sustainable employment. So yeah, the focus is there, but we also know there are so many jobs there and so we're looking at all those career tech places, the training, the certifications to get folks, into these. There's so many high-paying jobs. We got to get them there. Emerge. You guys have heard of Emerge. She had a presentation here not too long ago. That is another tremendous way to get folks out of drug addiction to sustainable working, living on their own, the whole thing. So there's a lot of focus on all that. But let's get our Ohioans that are disadvantaged one way or another. Let's get them working. Let's get them those high-paying jobs. Absolutely. Great questions. Thank you, Dustin. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for this.
Okay, so before we close, I do want to again mention the Flags for Heroes. When we started that, we tried to have a kind of an opening ceremony, so to speak, at each of the events, and we come down to let's do that once a year. And so this is the once a year. If you have a chance to get out there 5 o'clock tomorrow for a brief ceremony, we would appreciate it. And again, if some people can show up a little early for chair duty, that would be great. And Wednesday at 4 is taking down the flags. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Memorial Day weekend. And so we'll have a little moment of silence in a second, but I do want to also mention, since Brian was talking about the distracted driver, school's getting out, kids are around, please be real careful driving. Nobody wants to be involved in something that accident with a kid, so put the phones away and pay attention to kids running around like they're crazy. So if everybody would stand for the pledge, and I'd just like everybody to, I know we have people within our group who know people have lost lives in the service of our country, and I would just ask everybody for a brief moment of silence in that regard. Thank you. And does anyone else have any business or anything for the good of the club?
One quick thing, on Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we're having a Memorial Day service at the, across from the old church.
Yeah, so just bring a tent, camp out at the Hope Church and it'd be good.
There you go.
All right. All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody have a time, they are you.
And actual jet, lot seems still need to consider. But I think that.
Oh, yeah. I flipped. Eric said I was too strong and I made